Let's call the Monday, July the 7th, 2025 Nacogdoches Historic Landmark Preservation Committee Board Meeting call to order. First item is approval of the minutes of the June 2nd, 2025 HPLC meeting.
I move we approve the minutes as written.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. Regular agenda, Jessica.
Yes, sir. So item 3A is a public hearing. So just as a reminder, once we go through the case, your chairman will have to open a public hearing to see if there's any comments. We'll officially close it, and then we'll kind of move on to the discussion. But this item is discuss and consider historic overlay zoning application for 1301 Regay Street. It is historic overlay case 2025-001. And I will mention this is the first overlay case we've gone over in quite a while. So I'm going to kind of go through the criteria so everyone understands what we're discussing and kind of the steps after this. So this property, 1301 Regay Street, the applicant is Isabella Baker for her father, Richard Baker, who owns the property. So with historic overlay cases, this property is requested to be put as an individual property under historic overlay. It won't be added to an existing historic district because it's kind of farther away from some of the other historic districts we have. It's individually designated. Currently, we have about 40 of those properties in the city of Nacogdoches. They're kind of the outliers. They tend to be the ones, on North Street or further out towards the county that are historic but aren't kind of near a center of commerce or aren't in an entire neighborhood that's been considered historic. So when an applicant applies for that, they're required to do a few things in their application. They have to write a summary of the history. We want to make sure the applicants have a skin in the game and it's not me doing the research for them. It's them coming to us saying, here is the property, here's photos, research, information on the architect. They also have to choose which criteria for designation they're applying under. In the ordinance, there are 6 criteria. They have to meet at least one. They can meet multiple, but they have to meet at least one of the 6 criteria. For example, there's some of the criteria are they possess a significance in history or architecture. They may be associated with an event that had a contribution in Nacogdoches history, associated with lives of a person significant to the city's past. We've had a few people that talk about Sam Houston in their applications because that man slept all over Texas. Associated with a master designer, established and familiar visual feature of the city. So there are 6 different criteria. The applicant today applied under criteria 1, 4, and 5, which is possess significance in history, architecture, archaeology, or culture, embodies the distinctive characteristics of a type or period of architecture or method of construction, and represents the work of a master designer, builder, or craftsman. And HLPC today can discuss the case, can make a recommendation for either putting the property under overlay or not. That recommendation will be taken to the Planning and Zoning Committee, which will meet next Monday. They will hear the exact same case. They'll make a recommendation based on y'all's recommendation, and then both of those decisions will go forward to City Council in August for approval. Since City Council is the only one that can officially add a zoning layer or change a zoning case on a property. The applicant supplied quite a bit of history in your packet. I will say, as far as all of the applications that I've seen for historic overlay, this was the most thorough one. I think it was roughly 20 pages, which is great. A lot of really wonderful photos, a lot of history about the architecture itself as far as being mid-century modern, about the architect who did a lot of work but not a lot of commercial work, which is really neat. This is one of the only examples still existing. And so really this is a 1950 architecture style, mid-century modern, and is the architect Rayford L. Stripling, who was pretty significant, has work in several places around the state, but I believe is from St. Augustine? St. Augustine, yes. Yeah. And so the applicant supplied all of that for consideration. Also in your packet, there is the original rendering that the Baker family still has, and this actually hangs in the office, which is great. There's a few additional photographs, excuse me, modern photographs of what the building looks like. It's still in good repair. It's still a good example of that mid-century modern architecture, and really has had very few changes to the property. I'll go through some of the photos here. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have after you open it for a public hearing and then close it at that point.
Okay. Let's open the item for public hearing. Is anyone who'd like to speak to the item on the agenda or have any questions?
What's her plan for the building? Why does she want to be under historic overlay?
That I do not know. As right now, it's still privately owned. I don't believe they are occupying and using the building currently as a doctor's office, but I don't know their future plans. But as far as her reason, when I did talk to the applicant, the reasoning was she wanted to make sure the building stayed preserved. Since it's not part of a historic district, a lot of times those properties, they don't have that added layer of protection. So if it ever left that family, someone could go and tear it down tomorrow. So I think she really just wanted to preserve that building and make sure it was recognized as the really cool example of architecture it is, but also preserved for the future.
Any other questions, comments?
You can close the public hearing whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's close the public hearing. I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
Yes.
It's not my style of building, but I think it needs to be preserved, especially with that history.
Jessica Rayford Stripling did buildings all over the state.
Yes.
Lots of them.
I've got a book of
Yeah,
buildings
lots
that
of
he did,
them.
a lot of commercial buildings.
His son was a good friend of mine, and his family's a good friend of my wife's family. Yeah,
He's
I mean,
famous
his
architect.
family.
And especially buildings like these aren't put under historic overlay as much because people think like, oh, 50 years, like that's, back in the early 1900s. I'm like, nope, that 50-year mark keeps getting closer and closer, I feel like. So a lot of buildings from the 50s, 60s, and 70s are eligible now, but most people don't think about them because they're not Victorian homes. That's just, I kind of think, our perception.
Well, the state signifies that as after 50 years, it's historically significant.
Absolutely.
Jessica, we need a recommendation this be approved to be sent to zoning and planning.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a recommendation, a motion?
I'll recommend, make a motion that that's HO 2025-001, and we approve it to be sent to the planning and zoning.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, unanimous.
And that will be on the planning and zoning meeting on Monday, and I believe the city council one, I believe it's August 5th. And those are public hearings as well, so people are still allowed to come and voice their opinions at that point. Your next item is 3B. It's a COA for 703 Virginia Avenue. This building has come before y'all in the past. We did have a bit of a different HLPC makeup at the time, so just as kind of a refreshment, this building is in the Virginia Avenue Historic District. It is contributing to the Virginia Avenue Historic District. It was in pretty bad disrepair years ago and was actually a demolition by neglect case, and now has new owners who have been diligently working on getting the property back up to its standard that it should be and be able to live in it again. And so they are continuing their work on this project. So what they're requesting today is the approval of 3 different projects. One is the addition of a second set of columns to the front door, which would match a 1973 photo they have of the house. There was some work done in the past. Some of those columns are no longer there, but they would like to add that second set of columns. Also replace an existing double front door with a single door with glass side lights. Again, there was some work done to the front of the house that did not serve the house well. There was actually some structural issues because of changing that door. So this would be essentially the same size, just a different makeup with a single door and 2 side lights on it. And then also constructing a 30-foot by 11-foot rear porch with 10 1/1 windows. The siding and the trim will match the existing home. And this porch is a replacement of a rear porch that HLPC approved the demolition of in 2023. That rear porch was kind of cobbled together with a lot of different materials, was definitely rotting through there. And so HLPC in 2023 approved the demolition of it with the intent to rebuild it in the future when the applicant was ready. So that's what they're requesting today. The city ordinance criteria B, C, D, E, F, G, J, and K relate to this. A lot of those items are listed just because it is quite a few projects here. And I'm happy to show y'all a few pictures. For example, on the left-hand side of your screen, You can see the double columns in front of that front entry. The photo on the right is the current one, so you can see we're down to one set of columns. So they're hoping to go back to that double set. And then this is the example of the porch. You can see it's the 30-foot by 11-foot rear porch. We'll have the 10 1/1 windows, which matches the rest of the home. And then they provided an inspiration photo, so it would look something similar to this. But of course, the siding and the trim and things like that would match their home rather than this picture. And just as a refresher, this is the porch that HLPC removed for approval in 2023. You can see it was in pretty rough shape. So they did successfully demolish that porch and are now hoping to rebuild in that same spot. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is here as well.
Great. Would you like to come up and say a few words? Thank you.
Not sure what you want to hear, but sure, here I am. Yeah, this house was, it's been a project. That front porch, it was about ready to fall when we bought the house, and I just kicked the column out and let it go, and then now we want to put the double columns back. It's more neoclassical. It matches carport, which you can't really see on any of the photos, but they have double sets, of columns like neoclassical does. So that's what we're attempting to do.
Great. Any questions? It's going to be a beautiful home.
I certainly hope so. That's my plan A.
All it takes is money.
Yeah.
Lots of it, dude. Lots of it.
No more questions? Thank you very much. You have more comments you'd like to make?
No.
Thank you for coming.
All right.
Jessica, do you have anything to add?
No, sir. I'm very happy that this house is being worked on and no longer demolition by neglect case. So
Great.
I am very excited about any forward movement.
Do you have a motion? Your turn.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve item 3B of Virginia Avenue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously.
And I will mention in your packet, I do apologize for any confusion, the next item we will not be discussing today. The supporting material made it into the packet, but the item did not make it onto the posted agenda. Technology got away from me, but we will be working with the applicant to bring that back, possibly in August. So that is the last item we have for you today.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely, I'll make a motion.
A second? Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Have a great evening.
Thank you. We will see you all.
See y'all in 1 month or less.